Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting for the Town of Tustin Town Board for July 8th. Call the meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Our payment of bills, the general fund expended $21,221.07. The highway, $551,853.75. The water, $17,293.77. The sewer, $8,065.69 for a total of $598,434.28. And I believe Greg and Cass did the bills.
Yeah. Yep.
Questions, problems?
No,
It was good. I would accept a motion to pay the bills as presented.
I make that motion.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, opposed. Division reports, those that are not read at the meeting will be available online. We will start out with Kevin and the Water and Sewer Committee.
Yeah, couple of headlines. RCAP's gonna work with us on getting, moving towards a USDA grant, if they're out there for us. Delaware Engineering says there's no real motion on the specs for the water tower that are now sitting with the Department of Health. Some of this is redundant with what Craig reported. The generator was, installed outside the sewer plant, which means it's not inside the sewer plant, so they actually have some room in there. Brad Scoos has, good news, he's earned his grade 1 sewer license, so now we have 2 lead operators, which is a real wealth of talent now we have. Craig reports that the new meter reading software and laptops are working well, and he can read your meters faster than ever. I know people got this federally mandated lead line letter that are in the district, but a sampling of real water that was done by the department shows that the lead and copper levels are negative. That's good. And well 2 remains a work in progress.
Any questions from the board for Kevin? Do you have a report? No. Oh. But she said she did. On Sir Greg Triggs, Parks Public Spaces.
Lots of good stuff happening in the parks. We had a good meeting yesterday and, we just this morning planted lilacs that were donated by the Kraus family for, in memory of Ed and Doreen. We're getting a new, bench, from the same donations. An encouragement to anyone who wants to see something in the park and maybe consider doing some fundraising or donations. We're always happy to work with anyone who wants to see something down in the parks. We just found some motion detector lights for the pavilion, the sports court, and the ball field. They are very bright, but luckily they are dimmable, so we will take their proximity into people's homes into consideration. And we are ordering new signs. We got rid of all the old twisted metal signs that were down in the park. And tomorrow I'm going to be ordering a new sign that will match the dedication signs and be on the other side of the park with procedures and rules of conduct, that kind of thing, safety announcements. And we are also, thanks to Jane, going to be part of the Daffodil Project, and you'll be seeing some community announcements about that. It's a group that is planting 1.5 million daffodils in honor of the children lost to the Holocaust, and we are going to be receiving some of the bulbs and do a community outreach where we'll be planting all those in the Kirks Road area. We're giving 3,000. What did I say?
You said,
Oh, okay, okay. Maybe we'll even get 3,001, who knows? But so we'll be doing community announcements about that and some Saturdays asking for volunteers to come and dig and plant bulbs and that kind of thing. I think it's gonna be really spectacular at the end of it all.
Refreshments?
We, there has been talk of refreshments.
I think you're donating them, aren't you?
And our next meeting, it's always wonderful to have people, from the public, at our meetings. The next one will be Monday, August 5th at 5 p.m. August 4th. That would have been horrible if I'd sent you on the wrong day. And, the other thing that we're talking about, for next year is baseball renovation. Getting the bases back in good working order, getting the mound in working order so that kids can play down there. Right now, there are a couple of ruts that might prove to be a hazard. So that's parks and public spaces.
Anybody from the board have any questions? I know Greg touched on this back in that meeting, but a shout out to the subcommittee that helped Bob Bennell put on the dedication. For those that didn't go, they missed a good day. We thank them for that.
I was with the Tustin Historical Society.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
You wear two hats and I only got one of them.
yeah.
I did not mean that you wear two hats. I did not mean to forget you. Let's go to Jane for the Conservation Advisory Council and grants.
Okay, well, there's not much to, well, let's do the CAC. The Conservation Advisory Council, we are really pleased that we're winding down to the end of the project. And the committee has received the draft. We've read it extensively, made some corrections, and it's back with MJ Engineering to finalize everything. So that's moving right along. The grants report, I'll move to grants.
Sure.
The grants, what a disappointment, we did not receive the Northern Borders grant. I'm so disappointed. We really thought we would get that, but we didn't. I spoke with Joe from Delaware Engineering and he was disappointed too. We were, whatever, we didn't get it, sorry. And to add or to reiterate exactly what Kevin said, I spoke with Joe today and he said this week, Thursday and Friday, he'd make himself available to do the USDA grant. So that's good. And Sullivan 180 is Kirk's Road, so we are working on that. And yeah, life is good.
Questions for Jane? Moving into old business.
I just not say parking, I talked to Don,
Okay,
and it's not the number one on his list, but repaving the bank lot is, he thinks by the end of July. I mean, he's not putting that in, you know. But
and I know the county, I talked to the county, they said once he's got that established, that they'll put him on for these striping.
Right.
there.
so we just have to coordinate that. So the parking lot is not closed on the day that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that'll be something that we can put on the website and get the chamber to help us with when we get the dates for that, but it will be closed for a couple of days.
Right.
Old business, I do not have any old business unless a board member has something for me that I missed.
The dogs on. Well, I guess that's
From Irish Town?
Yeah.
That's an ongoing, there's no update on that other than, Jim has given them a time frame in order to come before the planning board for whatever uses they would need.
Okay, so there's no like noise ordinance.
That's a hard one.
Why is that?
Well, I will let Ken explain that better than,
What was the question?
we're talking about the dogs on Irish Town Road and the noise complaint of the dog.
If you wanna have that conversation, I'd like to have that conversation in executive session, because I'm not about to start talking about the strengths or weaknesses of
Okay.
of legal action
Gotcha.
that may or may not be taken. That's not in our interest to do.
Okay, I just wondered if there was an ordinance.
We do. I think that would be, as Ken says, a better discussion
Okay. Thanks.
with an attorney. Go ahead, defer.
Thank you.
New business, 4.1, the Upper Delaware Council has asked for permission from the town for the placement of a plaque honoring Matthew McHugh, who was our House of Representatives and the leader in getting the Upper Delaware Scenic and Recreational River put through. The board's got a copy of the proposal of the plaque. I know Jane had questions that got answered regarding the size of the plaque. A discussion on that.
What was the size?
So Lori asked if a plaque could
Yeah.
be had on the deck. She's
She's looking for the size.
Oh, the size, she
Size,
said she didn't give me a specific size, but she said it wouldn't be much larger than a piece of paper, so.
Okay.
Did you say what material it would be?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be brass or bronze.
Yeah,
whatever
they had bronze ones that they
Yeah,
were looking at.
yeah, bronze.
It's gonna be a 16 by 22 bronze plaque.
Oh, that's
That's,
bigger than
That,
that.
they went with the rectangular one. So it'll be 16 high and
22. Well, this
22.
is, so it's two pieces of paper. Because 11 and 11.
and where,
Well, that she's asking us. They would like to put it on the deck, but.
did they choose a location on the deck?
Well, I think they're asking us.
they're looking for our
Yeah.
guidance. And I was going to push that into the parks and public spaces to come up with a spot for it. I think
And then
first
they
we
would
need
have
to
to
know,
make dedications. you know.
right, I think first we need to know if the board is willing to do that, and then we can,
I think we're generally, well, I mean, I would agree to it.
So it's not this design then, because this is portrait,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's going
do
to
you
be
have the ones
landscape.
up, Crystal, or the email? I've got the email, I think,
I do have it here. I can pull it up.
Send in the email.
that came from the email.
It's kind of with the email the attachment. So
Right.
maybe
Could we ask for an updated
No, that's what she
version of
said.
that?
Oh, that is the email. It's
Yeah.
this one. It's the web design.
mean,
And I
there's
think
not
that's
a
a-
lot of space there to.
Well, I
place the
think-
plaque unless they
That's
have.
my thing, we have so much there, I wasn't sure, that's why I said to her what size it is.
And that's why they're looking for their approval before they go spend any monies on this.
Smart.
So, and then that's why we could have either a board representative work with them as far as placement, size.
Very nice.
Well, we do have, is Kathleen here?
No,
But there'll be a dedication, because he's still with us. It's a nice thing to honor somebody. He's, you know, he's college in '70s.
Super narrow for,
Oh,
because
there we
it's
go.
about the enter.
One for the mounting option.
and again, these are ideas that they put forth that are
Right.
not set in stone. It's based on the board's approval and the board's input.
Right, okay.
But you just need a motion to approve the idea of having the plaque.
Yes,
Yeah, the.
I'll move that.
Second,
further discussion?
but with input from the board in terms of placement and.
She said they just need to know as soon as possible if you prefer the plaque to be mounted on a railing, or on a side post. If we need an additional post, it's going to be at $225 to order the post and footer.
Okay,
We'll have to take a look. This round,
Okay, that's right. Who wants to work with the UDC on that as part of the,
I'll do that.
okay,
I'll work with you too, Cass.
Okay, great.
as part of the motion, we'll add Cass and Jane in there. I have a motion a second, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? I do have a request. I don't know if you've got the email from Kelly regarding, Hometown Heroes. And they're requesting permission. It's a volunteer committee dedicated to establish a Hometown Hero banner program in the town. And this would be done by the committee. The fundraising would be done by them. They're asking for support and permission from the town. Possible support needing to come from the highway department, if they secure the banners in order to put them up. Jane, you're looking at me.
I don't like the idea. Actually, and the reason being is because I understand, and if I'm wrong, that's fine, but I understand that the. The family or somebody has to contribute towards the hometown banner. So if the family can't afford it and they had somebody, that seems unfair.
Mm.
It just-
Unless the organization made a way to do fundraising to assist in that. I don't know if they are or not. I'm just saying that that would be something that could address a concern.
Anybody have
Well,
familiarity with other
I know.
towns? I know a lot of other towns are doing it.
One of the few towns that don't.
I wonder if they have anything in place for,
And how long do they stay up? Do you renew them when they get worn? I just don't, I mean, I have a hero. I am married a hero, but not for it. That's just one person's opinion.
Other comments from the board? Is something that we would like,
I've seen them in place in other towns and I think, you know, they're respectful and I think it gives the veterans in town a sense of belonging and
Didn't the union have something once?
I do not know.
I thought the union had all the names. What do that?
well, as I understanding it, it's not just people who grew up in the town. It's people it could be also people who have some connection to the town.
Right,
So I guess it's up to the individual families.
Hey,
We have, they have it down in Matamoros, and each
Yeah,
town runs it differently. So down in Matamoros, there's so many that they rotate them on a 2-year basis.
oh,
And, how it works is most families will donate more. So it covers anybody who's indigent and can't take care of it.
Hmm.
But I think you probably could also go to Sullivan County Veterans Group Health if you really have that many.
Mhm.
But it depends on how many polls they have and how many people that are really interested in.
You want me to explain a little of the research I did?
sure.
So I've put a lot of research into how various towns are doing this across the state. It's a federal thing, it's all across America. This is why you would need to form a committee, because they're all of these questions. And every community does it differently. So that would be up to the committee that is put together. So I don't know how involved the town wants to be in that. It's not technically a town program. But we do need to work with the municipality. So that would be up to you guys, how involved to get or not get. But that's what the committee would sit down and discuss. The eligibility of the veteran. Does it mean they have to come from Narrowsburg? Do they have to live in Narrowsburg at some point for their life? Some towns will make it, there needs to be a tie to the community, which in that case would be, you are the tie for your husband. So it's a broad spectrum. The fee varies. I'm waiting for a call back for them because they're not the most updated cost. But a couple of years ago, when I talked to them, it was $150 for a banner. That does not include the hanging, the brackets, and that's expensive in itself. A lot of towns will go for grants for these things. They'll seek sponsorships within the community to help offset the cost. A family can do that on their own and go to one of the shops and say, will you sponsor my family? So there are a lot of things, and having been involved in Tustin Youth and putting programs on in the community, I feel pretty confident in our ability to help raise funds in this community. I've seen them come together for 4th of July. So I think for a program like this, we could really help the families and make it affordable. They are made to last 3 seasons, so they're not going to last forever. So that's something else the committee would have to put together. What's the duration of the program? Is it annual for the family? Is it so it varies from town to town. But remember, the families are paying for this. This banner belongs to them, not the town. So whenever that term is over, the families, they get the banner. It's theirs to keep forever. I've already spoken to Don. They will hang it for us and they will house it somewhere up in Highway. He said, don't worry about it. We'll find a spot. In terms of poles, because something else that I could see coming up and being a question, who gets what pole? Who gets Main Street versus Luxton Lake, or, you know, something like that. Every town does it different. You can put a request in. A lot of communities will say you can put a request in. Some people might want it by their house or by their shop, but there's usually no guarantees, and I think we'd have to stick to that too. But in terms of poles, Highway went out for me today and they said, listen, we lost count. We have so many roads, we have so much space, we're not gonna run out of poles, which is good if we were to open it up for someone with a tie to the community, because we'll get more people that way, you know, versus just born and bred in Tufton. So there's a lot of variables, and I know there's a lot of questions, because I've been thinking about them all too. Angela Kelly came to me with this idea, and Jane, you and I talked about this a couple of years ago, so I've always wanted to do this. My dad's a veteran, and he's suffering from a decline in dementia from his time in Vietnam. So for me, this is very, very emotional, and it's very important to me. And I know there's a ton of us in this room with ties to veterans. So really hoping you guys will move this forward. My goal is to get this up for Memorial Day. So we have time to really think about this logistically, not rush it and push it through. The company said 6 weeks is from the time you put the order in, give them 6 weeks to turn around to have everything to hang. So I'm thinking we can get approval, get the committee going, and then throughout the end of summer into fall, get all the logistics set. We can give you the logistics before going public, if that helps, you know, just feeling where you are. But I want to give families time to acquire the funds or seek sponsorship for these. Then we have to pick designs and all that kind of stuff. So,
Just,
Yeah.
this is probably to be determined by the committee, but the size of the banners.
there's two different sizes.
But I'm just saying, right now we have those high school banners.
They're comparable.
They're about the same.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to.
No bigger.
Yeah, they're big, because I remember a friend of mine got hers, I'm from Port, and they've done this for a long time. And she said, it's, once you got it in your house, it was crazy, it was like 4 feet tall, you know, it's kind of like a shrine now in their house. So there's a lot of variables, a lot of different eligibility requirements. I think it's important to know all of the committees say this is an application, it's not a guarantee. So they would fill out the application. I'd rely a lot on Crystal as town clerk also to help us spread the word through this with the town. That whatever their tie is to Tustin, that will be verified by the committee. And it's important to note that it's an honorable discharge from the military, and that will be looked into.
Questions from the board?
Basically, the board needs to approve this, but it's not a board run matter.
It's much like when Sullivan West came to the board asking about putting up the banners for the students.
Yeah, so I would move this. I see no reason for the board to stand in the way.
I agree. I'm in favor of the committee. I would like to have a presentation about the criteria before it becomes official so that we all understand, but that would be my only proviso.
Is that a second?
Yes, a qualified second. 2/3 of a second.
Further discussion?
Third of a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone is interested in that, you have a go ahead, let me know if you want to do it. Thank you.
4.3. As was reported during the committee section, there was a donation from the Kraus family in the amount of $800. And I would make a motion for the town to accept the donation from the Kraus family of $800.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye, opposed. 4.4 budget modifications. The first will be for the donation that we just approved. $800 from gift donations A2705 to A7110.2 to Parks and Playgrounds Equipment. The second would be a transfer of $13,225 from A2210 to Kirkus Road Grant A6989.9, and that's a Sullivan 180 that Jane has so far secured.
There's someone who's not totally fluent in what A 2210 is. What is that?
That's coming from, well, the donation in the 82210 is a grant money.
Okay, then I'll move that.
I will second. All in favor? Aye, opposed. The fascinating property tax exemption, real property tax law, I've sent to the board a email regarding that and the purpose and the scope of it. What we need to do in order to move that forward is to authorize the attorney for the town to draft a resolution on that. Ken, what kind of information are we looking for?
Well, what we need to know is, first of all, what you need to know is the exemption can be up to 10%. So you have to tell me what percentage you want to go to, and you can't exceed 10%. You should know that this will only apply to town taxes. It won't apply to school tax, it won't apply to fire district tax, it won't apply to county tax. Each municipality has to adopt their own, and it's theoretically possible that you could adopt a 10% exemption, the school could adopt a 5% exemption, fire district could adopt no exemption. I mean, so it's, what you do is limited in its effect simply to the town tax bill. The other thing is this applies, the perception is it's firefighters, it's not just firefighters, it's firefighters and ambulance volunteers. The other question would be though, so if you want to go forward, I need to know the percentage. And I also need to know whether you want it to not only apply to that volunteer, be it the firefighter or the volunteer ambulance worker, but also to their spouse in the event the spouse, the volunteer passes and the exemption is in place. Does the surviving spouse get to keep the exemption for the rest of his or her life? The other question would be, do you want it to apply in the event of if the volunteer loses his life in the performance of duty? So these are the questions that I need to know. I've done this local law for another town, so it's fairly easy to do, but I just need to know what you guys want to deal with in terms of those contexts.
What is the FAS?
That's Firefighters Association of New York. They're promoting it, but I mean, it's for the benefit of their constituency, so to speak, but.
So I think the first thing we need to
Lawful determination for you guys and every other community.
What about somebody who's paid on the ambulance?
they gotta be a resident of the town,
And they
gotta be a
and they gotta be a
volunteer.
volunteer. And there's a requirement for them to provide to the assessor documentation that establishes that they're actually active and perform, you just don't.
And those are some of the things that are set by the fire department, to my understanding.
And it also creates a choice for the volunteer, because they can get this exemption, or there's also a tax break, they get an income tax break or deduction that they can get. But you can't get both. So you can do one or the other, but you can get both, if I understand.
So our first question is gonna be percentage.
Well, don't we have to know what the potential exposure is before we can, I mean, we have to know the difference between 5 and 10%, don't we?
It would be helpful, it's not going to be a very large number.
It's also gonna be a difficult number to get, because until people actually apply, you don't know.
Yeah, whether you've got 10. It'll be up to your budget officer to assume how you're going to modify your budget accordingly.
And do they have to apply every year? So if someone does fall off or stops volunteering,
Yeah, it's got, the assessor's supposed to be provided documentation every year as to.
From the fire department or the ambulance corps.
This is a continuation. We already have it. It ends on the 1st of January.
The existing ones, they were all over the place, and the existing one, the state back in 2022, I believe it was, adopted new legislation which effectively repealed everything that was in place, left it sort of grandfathered it or protected what was in place through 2025, which we're now at, to afford folks like you a time to figure out what you want to do. If we do nothing, what is on the books now will go away.
So the impact's not gonna be that big. We already have.
do we know what the number is that it has been?
That I do not know.
Actually, I do, but I left it upstairs for the.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for the information. Yeah.
But it's not a huge number.
No.
So we're talking 10%.
On the
Mr.
net.
Volunteer, it's 10% of his town tax bill.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's a 10% reduction of whatever the assessed value is. So if, you know, you equalize value, let's say your equalized value of your property is $40,000, you get a $4,000.
So just a star is what, 30%?
Yeah,
Star is 30, I think.
No, Star is only the first 26,000.
Oh, okay. Whatever, it's similar to that. you know.
Well, but then there's 2 stars, there's an enhanced star.
Yeah.
All right, never mind. I'm
Literally,
sorry,
right,
about
no.
3.
Star is not a good analogy.
All right. But you're saying it's not a huge number. I would go with the
It's up to
10%.
them. They can do anything they want.
Is that what it currently is?
it is.
It's a 10.
What did you say?
It's currently 10%.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're just voting to continue,
Yes, we're gonna
essentially.
look over to Ken and say, okay, we're gonna stay at 10%. That's for the following fire department and the ambulance corps. The next question would be the passing to a surviving spouse.
And what is the current, do we have a current?
Regardless of what the current is, I think it's time for this board to make a decision on that,
All right.
what we feel, I think.
Well, what is the current status of that?
I don't know. That's why I'm thinking it's good for this board, you know, do we think that should pass to a surviving spouse?
I can, just for what it's worth, there are other exemptions where it does, for the veterans exemption, for example, the surviving spouse does get to continue the exemption.
So it would align.
Yeah,
And would that would just be for the remainder of this, in other words, the 10 years that this is in place? Or would that be forever,
It's for the life, as long,
the life of the spouse?
the life of the spouse. Yeah. The volunteer has to meet their obligations while they're alive in order to keep the thing in place, but once they pass, obviously the spouse is gonna get.
Now, what would the difference between that be? And you were talking about the, losing the life of the performance of duty.
Well, I don't think, once the volunteer passes away,
Okay.
if the
So we only
spouse
need to-
has survivor benefits, the spouse has survivor benefits, I don't think it becomes a test anymore. I think they just have to be their principal resident.
I'm for the passing to the surviving spouse.
Yeah, so am I.
yeah, so am I.
What else do we need?
I think gave you enough,
I think that'll work.
10% and for 10% and let us see for the benefit of the survivor.
So we're not voting on this,
No.
we're voting on his resolution when he writes.
Yeah, we're just making a resolution to authorize.
Okay.
How long before they can be eligible? Minimum of 2, maximum of 5.
That's set by the fire department, I believe.
No,
That's not.
it's not by us.
I would-
By us.
That's a good
I do
question.
my reading.
Excellent.
So if someone is. There's a minimum of what now?
2.
2 years, a maximum of 5, but you have to say how long do they have to be part of the fire department before they're eligible?
Yeah, you don't just join the fire department
Right.
this week and file the application next week and on the next roll you're exempt.
So you can say minimum of 2,
You could think, they need to
Maximum
be.
I would go with whatever the minimum is that they're now. The minimum is 2. I mean, the idea of this is to entice people to get into our volunteer
Yeah.
services, stay in our volunteer
Yeah.
services.
Mhm.
and they have to be active.
That, there
Yeah,
was the other
they're
thing.
gonna meet it, they've gotta participate.
Did they, and this is just a question, we've got some people that have been members of the fire department for decades.
Yeah.
What do we consider active?
for fire
You
department.
know, do they have to be at a scene? Do they have to be part of the department and doing?
That is something that the fire department.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew there was something that they had to do. Okay.
Yeah, it's the chief or the commanding officer of the fire company or the ambulance service or his designee has to determine the eligibility for the exemption established, utilizing official service record.
Okay, so we only have to do the number of minimum years, which I would say is 2. So I would make a motion to authorize the attorney for the town to draft a resolution for the real property tax law 456A, with the recommendations for the board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we miss anything on that, Ken?
Well,
We can come back. We've got 3 or 4 minutes left.
yeah, no, I mean, if I need anything else, I'll ask you
Okay.
guys, but I'll put together to introduce next one.
4.6, the Sullivan County Youth Bureau accept the grant awards and authorize the supervisor to sign the contract agreement for the youth recreation of $3,000, a holiday community celebration, $3,000, and unplugged for $4,000. Anybody have any questions from Crystal on that at all? If not, I would make the motion to authorize me to sign that.
I will second that.
All in favor? Opposed? 4.7, the superintendent of highways is looking for authorization and permission to auction the old paver. It means we'll be using a new paver in the parking lot. Where somebody else's.
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. 4.8, we did receive a letter from Tony Ritter regarding, some concerns he had. That has been forwarded to the highway superintendent. That falls within his purview. 4.9, and this is more of an update for the board. We're going to a direct deposit for, paychecks. That is in the works. That is part of the, highway union negotiation contract. As part of that, we've also started to do a QuickBooks upgrade, which will also help us with the direct deposit and adding a payroll to it.
Is that just for the highway department?
No,
or
that's for the,
all
that's
employees?
gonna be for everybody. But it looks like the total QuickBooks, online with payroll is approximately $8,544. So when you see the bills, not to be surprised on that.
Then that's the online, we will be doing desktop.
The 6,420
Annually? Yeah.
annually, yes.
We already paid that for QuickBooks.
Yeah, we're up
It's
over
not cheap.
three without a payroll service.
How many checks you mail?
We have 31 employees on a bi-weekly payroll, so.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you know, you're gonna save over the course of imposed.
A portion of that.
A small portion of that, but yes, and the other thing is this direct deposit has created some issues that we need to hammer out, in the supervisor and bookkeeper's office because of the way our weekends on a Sunday where they're getting paid on a Wednesday. This is, there is no lag in there, and that's something we have to work through, and this should help to make it a little bit easier. But that's just more of a notification for the board so that they understand where I'm at. And I think Crystal has something she would like to say.
Kelly has the, youth commission report.
Okay.
Oh, the one that I said, is there any report?
You cannot whisper. You
Okay.
speak up.
And go ahead.
Can I have two?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, you'll be under the board part.
Okay. All right, I missed this, I'm talking to an employee for that one. Okay, so Tustin Youth, as you heard, we received the grant from the county. We received $10,000, and it's broken down into a couple different programs, but it's $10,000 total. That's new this year, based upon the funding available to the state and the county, which I believe this is all county funds. But in comparison to last year, we received, I don't have the exact number, I want to say it was 27,700, definitely at least 25,000. This year we received 10. So we have the supplemental money from the town that was budgeted. So we do have an overall budget of a little over $20,000, but last year we had about 42. So that changes our plan, and unfortunately, just governmental reasons, it all came out late this year. So now we're halfway through the year and we realize just how much money we have to spend. So we had a meeting, we redid the tentative schedule for the year, and we had to cut back on a lot of what we would normally do. Our after school club, which was happening down here for 2 or 3 years now, we had our last session in June, and thank you to everybody who came to the DVAA and saw the kids' Apron Village. You can see pictures online. It was a fun experience, but at this point, Tustin Club is moving to the Tustin Social. So it will no longer be in the hands of Tustin Youth. It's just outgrown us. It's outgrown our space down here. And there may be some potential work here in our town hall in the future, so we feel it's best at this point. Because the building on Main Street, formerly Rasmussen, now, shops. There is a space there that Tustin Social is working in, so it's a good time to transition. So if anyone is interested or has kids, grandkids, follow the Tustin Social for signups in the fall. What we are continuing is our Unplugged series. In the summer, July 12th, which is just next weekend now, we'll run every Saturday in the park. That is outdoor games, activities, hence the Unplugged. That's with Jackie. You may know Jackie and her husband. They do karate down here on Wednesdays. So she's the instructor, she's a former teacher. So follow that. That's free for all children, not just Tustin. And you don't have to come consecutively. So if you're in town, you have friends in town, bring the kids down. We are partnering again with the Chi Hive. This is also part of the grant funds we just got for Unplugged and this Chi Hive program. Susan has done Chi Camp for many years and she ran it on the farm where she lives here in Tustin. This year it's being moved to the Chi Hive. We are contracting with her again. We have 10 spots for Tustin children that we will be paying their camp tuition. It runs July 28th through August 1st. This has not been posted yet. It's something I need to do. I just had to get through the holiday. And keep an eye out. If you know anybody, please help spread the word. It's for ages 5 and up. They will be having camp at the Chi Hive, as well as down at the park and at the parlor, the shops on Main Street. They will be doing a lot of physical activity in addition to putting on a performance, a small play. It'll be done on the stage. She has contracted with, a lot of people to help do this. Another opportunity Susan is giving us. We had Tustin youth children go last year that we paid for. They have now aged into the 13-year-old area, and she's bringing them on as counselors in training at no cost to us. So that's just another fun perk of Tustin youth and our paying dollars going towards this. Now these kids get to go in a leadership role for free, which is helping all the Tustin families. Some of the activities coming up to look out for: Wayne County Fair. We pay for Tustin youth to go to that. And I think most of us take advantage of that. So keep an eye out. We're going to Kalahari, Columbus Day weekend. We still have rooms. It's a great deal. Anyone can take advantage of these group rates. You don't have to live in Tustin. You don't have to have kids. You can just sign up and go. We do give a discount for all the Tustin youth though. And Crystal, did I miss anything?
Kelly, how many, children do you have registered?
So it's hard because we don't have an actual active number, and we're always finding there's more kids that we haven't reached yet. So if anyone ever has a suggestion, I was at the brewery last weekend and I just got talking to another mom. They came here in February. They live in Beaverbrook. She's got a 14-month-old, had no idea.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to reach people if they don't know about us and we don't know about them. So we're just always hoping people spread the word. We're on social media, but not everybody is.
But can you give us?
On a basis, we have a solid 30, 35 kids to show up on the regular. A big number, I want to say, is like 75, and that's just Tustin.
That's great.
Yeah, it's growing. It's definitely growing.
Kelly,
Yeah.
what are the hours of that Saturday program in the?
10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yes. We
And
provide
then-
snacks.
Awesome. And then what is the permitting procedure? I should know this because I'm the chairperson of the committee, but what is the permission for a business to hold a camp in the park? How is that
I
traditionally
don't think
done?
it's because she's actually setting the camp itself up in the park. I think it might just be going down to use the field. You know what I mean? I don't know if the word renting is right.
What?
She's gonna start down with the kids during a portion of the day.
Yeah, so it's more just, we're gonna go play soccer down there for an hour. It's not
It's
necessarily.
not going to be
reserved-
there for 9
No,
hours.
and it's just, if anyone else is
So
there, great.
it's essentially a
Yeah.
pickup game, just making sure.
Yep, absolutely.
We should talk in the Parks Committee about when,
Eventually, that will
yeah,
probably happen.
that kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
So just preemptive thinking on that.
Yeah, Halloween, I was hesitant to give too many details. We do know it will not be at Fort Delaware this year. They're gonna have some ongoing renovations within the museum, and they'll probably pick up in the fall. So it just won't work with our timing, and we respect what they're doing. we kind of pick up every other year for it, which is, it makes a difference and that works out good. We are hoping to, and there's really no reason to think it shouldn't, at this point, to use Fireman's Field, which is right down here on Demorro Lane, but the fire department will discuss that at their meeting on July 11th. So we're hopeful that that goes through, and then we'll have details beyond you on social media and at the meeting for you guys. Always looking for volunteers. Anyone like foolish things, let me know.
It's so much fun.
Greg, you're already in my
So
book,
much
so. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Before I move into public comment, I know our legislator is here, Kat Scott. You want to unmute her to see if she has anything or comments or announcements? Hello, Kat.
Hello. So not a lot. I mean, we're always working on things, but we do have a very exciting grant that we received from the state for $30 million. So we're working on expanding broadband in Sullivan County. We had a ribbon cutting, I believe, earlier in June. So that work is going to begin, and the scope of that project is going to occur over the next 18 months. So when we met with them, I did express to them that the Delaware River Corridor desperately needs broadband. And part of the scope of that project is that they are not going to be putting in cell service, but they're going to be putting in towers that we can then expand cell service to eventually. So that's happy news. So I heard Kelly talking about the funding for the Youth Bureau. There was a lot of people who applied this year. Funding, I think we all know funding is going to become an issue moving forward for a lot of things, coming from the feds down to the state, down to the county, down to the towns. But I believe there is another grant. I think there's more state money available in the fall, but that might be more sports oriented. But yeah, I understand the frustration there. Other than that, it's business as usual. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I do. If the fall grant money is athletically focused, or sports focused, would we be able to, as a town, for the improvements, on our playing field, be able to apply for that grant?
That I don't know, but I can ask.
Okay, and if you could just shoot me an email with the answer, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Kat, who is the they in the broadband?
Oh, so the county received the $30 million grant, and the company doing the work on our behalf is called ArchTap. They are a company out of Ulster County. They've purchased a few other local companies, the Hancock Telephone Company, and there was another company that they purchased. So they are also in the process of kind of expanding out this way, but they're going to be doing the work for the county. So that $30 million investment is going to be done on behalf of the county. And I believe there's a map you can see of the work that they're going to be doing. And the nice thing about them purchasing the Hancock Phone Company is that they're going to be in Hancock and moving down from there and then into the county. So, you know, like I said, I expressed that the River Corridor really needs some broadband expansion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? All right. Thanks, guys.
See you later. Moving into public comment, is there any other new business that we've got? before the board? You got new business? I thought you had comment. Okay.
Oh, I think it should be the basement. Weren't we gonna discuss the
They
basement?
did, yes. Go ahead and you can explain that.
Well, I did receive 3 quotes on, the
Water remediation
Yeah.
for the basement.
of the basement, the records room and the boiler room. And they're really very different. One of them was what, 20-something thousand, which was last year, and one of them is as low as 8,000. So I don't know what you want to do.
Is that a building committee thing?
It is, and maybe we could involve Jim in that.
Jim Brown.
Yeah. Well, see, get his feel on how that, And that $8,000 one almost seems like it would be something that would work.
Yes, he wanted to just kind of, put a pump in and put a tube of pipe or
Yeah, it
whatever.
was more of an older, what used to work in the older times where you trough underneath. Because you've got groundwater coming up, so they would trough the room into a depression, and in that depression, then that water would be pumped out as it came up.
These bids won't turn into a pumpkin before the next building committee. I mean, just saying,
Yeah, another week,
I feel better talking about it
we
there.
could end up do that and then make a vote on it on,
Yeah.
the August meeting. What do you think?
Sure, I mean, I did tell all of them where municipal organization.
So that they understand we're more like Galapagos.
Things move.
That's number one. Number two, I wanted to ask, we talked about it last month and I don't remember what we ended up saying for the UDC grant for next year. What would you like me to
I don't think we had a,
final, but
Final.
it's time because that's the end. So. Is there something that somebody, you told something?
Can it assist with records?
Pardon?
Can it assist with records?
It can deal with records. Did you want to digitize all the records? Is that it?
There's a lot of things that we would do with the records. Digitizing would be a huge piece.
All the old records. All right, so maybe I should meet with you if the board agrees.
yeah, that's gotta be in,
I don't remember if it's the end of July or August.
so if it's the end of July, you need a resolution in order to
Oh, right.
go in. So I would make a resolution authorizing the deputy supervisor to apply for a tag grant with the clerk's office.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That'll at least get you in the door.
Yep, okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
So that one is being saved for the.
What's gonna have to be tops?
I had one thing as well. Did, refresh my memory, did DVAA ask for a road closure?
It,
I know
think it-
Deepwater Literary
We gave
Festival
them
did.
permission for it. for
Okay.
us.
Yeah, we did that
Okay.
last month. We
Okay,
did
just wanted to make sure.
Relatively quickly.
And the deck work that we're gonna get done in the fall? Is that something that we need? Budget for?
Which work?
The deck work, the resurfacing of the deck,
wasn't that ARPA?
Yeah,
Yeah, we had already,
that's already
Okay,
yeah.
together. All right.
we're good in that. Anything else the board to think of? If not, I will open the floor to public comment. I will start first online and then I will move to the floor. I will move to the floor. Sure.
Just a quick question. Hometown Heroes thing. Kelly, you seem to
probably
know an
talked
awful
to
lot of, I'm sorry.
Use
Talk to the
the-
mic.
I'm sorry. Kelly, you seem to know an awful lot about the Hometown Heroes thing. Is there an actual website
Yes.
that you've gone?
Absolutely.
Hometownhero.com?
That's it, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I'm sure that,
.com or .org or,
well.
That's just on it, actually.
Both sides. Do I both do?
Yeah, both of them. I just
Okay.
will put Hometown Hero banners in, because there's also some sort of mortgage company called Hometown Hero.
Because that would probably.
So in answer, you can look at all the designs, but they also set it up to, if you, there's nothing about cost on there. They set it up to put a call in and we'll call you back. But if you also just Google Hometown Hero banner program, it'll take you to all the different municipalities and it'll give you an idea. You can look at their applications, their Facebook pages. I've been spending hours doing that to get an idea of direction on what other things to do.
It's not cookie cutter.
No, it's not.
It's not a template, it's not cookie cutter,
No,
it's a
You
broad
designed
stroke.
it, but yes.
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that. And then the other thing that I had was a quick comment about this, the FASNY thing, knowing a little bit about, line of duty deaths, right? You had said minimum of 2 years, maximum of 5 years for the individual to qualify. You provided that, you know, they have qualifying service during that time. And then if they qualify,
I think you would, I'll look at it, but I think it's automatic. I mean, if you.
yeah, I was gonna say, the poor kid that volunteers and his first run out the door, he gets killed.
Right, it could happen, but, yeah.
I know guys that, well, not their first run out the door, but got killed, and so that their widows were entitled, so just something to think about. Okay,
Good point.
thank you.
And Town Heroes banner, banner.
Doc?
Thank you.
Mike is dead.
I don't think for everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, my comment tonight is just to review the, asking for answers to questions that have been outstanding for several years. And they continue to languish month after month. So I would like to ask the board to please look at the questions that I have on the back of this comment sheet and see if there isn't something that can be done to address some of those issues, because some of them are relatively important. I'd also like to add to that list that after week or month after month, we wait for the agendas to come out on the board, and it's almost invariably in the last 3 or 4 hours before the meeting is to take place that anything goes up on the town site. So I really think it would behoove the board to make these agendas available earlier so that people would know what was going on at the meeting or plan to be going on at the meeting. And they could maybe do a little research if they had any questions about something, that they could come in and present it to you without having it sprung on them like out of a hat. One of the things that was mentioned at the last month's meeting was the subject of PFAS water testing for the town that might be taking place. And this is really a very important issue. I heard that they were talking about, Kevin, I think, was talking about some of the testing that was done on water. And I didn't know were the PFAS on that list to be tested for yet, or?
I think that according to Mrs. Craig's report to the board last month, I think it starts next year and it could cost as much as $15,000 a year, just testing.
Well, it's certainly a worthy amount to invest, because for people who don't know what PFAS is, they are a family of chemicals usually used in things like Teflon, waterproofing, if you have Scotch Guard or something like that. But they exude a toxic, forever chemical that has gotten into everything. We have 2 major sites of pollution like this in the county. One is over at the airport where the fire companies are operating and dumping their fire foam into the water, which of course then spreads it, the PFAS chemicals throughout the groundwater. It also gets into dust and you can breathe it in that way. They're known to cause a range of deadly health problems linked to cancer, reproductive and immune system damage, as well as other diseases. Now, it's been around a while, but people don't know about this. And how many people here have plastic cooking utensils like spatulas or Teflon coated pans? You use those things and the PFAS chemicals come out of the coating and out of the plastic and into your body. If you put plastic in the microwave and heat food up in that, PFAS comes out of that as well. So if you want to get a better idea of what this is, there is a DVD that was made of a docudrama It's called Dark Waters. You can get it at the local library, you can get it almost anywhere. And it was a true story of the PFAS chemical contamination caused by the DuPont Chemical Company. After World War II, they had this substance that was used for proofing, waterproofing tanks and outside coverings of automobiles. And they had a ton of it left. So they said, well, maybe we could do something with this. And they started making cooking utensils, baking pans, sheets, pots, pans. And at the very time that they were doing this, they knew from their own testing of the people who had worked on this during and after the war, that this chemical created just egregious, difficult problems of health. People died, people got blind, people got mentally deranged, and they just, like the cigarettes, denied it completely. No, 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 not happening, doesn't happen here, don't worry about it. This one lawyer, God bless, he fought and fought and fought and finally got them nailed for the horrible destruction that this was. But of course, the community, which was, his mother lived in this community, the community was completely destroyed. You cannot get rid of this stuff. Once it gets in the ground or the air, it's done. And now the county, in its infinite wisdom, is looking for an alternative way to get rid of garbage. And they're looking at incinerators, which is the most polluting, PFAS infested method of getting rid of garbage, and you don't get rid of it. It's so toxic, it's sludge that they take from this comes out, and you can't bury it. It completely and totally contaminates everything that it touches, and that goes on ad infinitum, ad nauseum for the rest of existence. So I would very much like to encourage people. The name of this DVD is Dark Waters. Mark Ruffalo stars in it, and he also funded and pushed it because he lives in our area and he knew what this would do to the land. Not necessarily the incinerator, but he knew from the other things like the fireplace, foam and things like that. This is an absolute ecological disaster. Please take a look at this DVD. I think you will be shocked and horrified. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, Russell.
Hi folks, just wondered if you have an update on the lease transfer for 93 Main Street, might just be for a Ken question.
That's still in the attorney's office and it has been under review, so.
Yeah, I've got to review what was sent to me and I just haven't had a chance to do it.
Okay, so it's all moving, just.
It'll move, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Good evening, thank you for your time. Couple of sheets. Basically, this is a rehash of a recurrent problem. We have a couple of commercial operations in the town which don't,
Speak into the mic.
couple of commercial operations in the town which don't have secured garbage, and they're creating a great deal of household garbage, which is attracting a lot of critters. I mean, just last week I had a bear wandering down just on the road. Normally you don't see them. We were getting raccoons and a number of other little smaller bits and pieces. I did mention it last, I think it was the last board meeting, and I don't know if anything came of that, but it is something to think about because, again, it's a health and safety issue. And I have, at one point, I believe the code enforcer spoke to the owner up by us, and he did pick up, you know, like the diapers and junk like that. But there's an immense amount of small bits of plastic that are still all over the place, and you know, it's coating after coating. Pretty soon it's going to be pretty severe. So, and we're not the only people who are suffering with this. So I was hoping that this would get addressed at some point or another. plus there's the dumpster that they're using. That's not actually on their property, they're parking it on the road. I know in some places they do that because there's no room to put it anywhere, but in this case, they could probably put it on their property and put a fence around it or get a bear-proof dumpster, because we're talking about a dumpster. And I mean, regular houses, regular mom and pop homes don't really produce enough garbage to attract over, you know, this is an attractive thing, it's drawing. And there's a couple of places that it's happening. Before something nasty happens, I was hoping it would be attractive. Thank you.
Other public comment from floor? Board comment?
this is just I guess, an informational thing. With all the terrible news out of Texas, a lot of talk about, being alerted to severe weather crises and flood. And we have a system to put Kelly on the spot. Crystal, sorry, on the spot, just, that we have the OnStar system that Code Red. And, does everyone here know about it, and are you signed up with it? And I just wanted to bring it up, so if anybody from the press is we're gonna watch this or whatever, it's just to spread the word that people can sign up and be alerted, because, we've seen the result, and it's rather dreadful. Sorry, Kelly.
Crystal. They can always stop in our office and we're happy to help them sign up. You can sign up by texting a number, or you can email us and we can help log you in. There's lots of different options.
It's very simple, and it's very worthwhile.
Can I just ask something speaking about emergency situations, does the town have a cooling center set up for emergency, like we have 106 degrees?
We would use this.
We use this, the town hall.
Just send people in here?
And if we open it up, the Code Red would go out, and it would also be on our website. And it would, if the county's running a list, sometimes I know they have in the past, and Scott's gone, but we would notify the county or the electric company, and we would be on a list for that.
We try to be mindful. We have NICEAG. They will give us notifications if there's certain power outages in the area and give us a time frame. And then we usually touch base to see what the time duration looks like. If it extends past that, then we touch base, the board and I, with the video of the channel.
And just on a related note, the splits are working pretty well. I mean, it's a bazillion% humidity out there.
Yes.
And on the-
drive over.
And the day
I'll just go like a sneaker when we walk.
That's true. And the day of the primary, I would texted Francis, who was working as a poll watcher, and it was really hot that day. And he said it was almost chilly. So they're working well.
Yeah.
And this is just dehumidifiers, not on AC.
It's on AC dry mode.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone else is having a similar problem with this dumpster or intrusion from animals, how do we best follow up on these concerns? Do we send the code enforcement out there again?
I can mention it to the code enforcement. If somebody wants to bear-proof a dumpster, they're gonna have to probably do it on their own. I know in the past, when we've had issues with the camps, the Department of Health tends to regulate them more, and they force them to get a bear-proof dumpster.
Would the Department of Health be involved because it's a commercial
camp.
property?
I don't think they would get involved with the personal
No,
property.
no, they issue permits to the camps, so that's where.
They make that part of their permitting process.
Right.
Well, just based on what we heard tonight, though, this is not, it's happening, but it's not even on the person's property.
Yeah, it extends to the other.
Since the
Sorry.
dumpster is not on their property, it does seem like it's an even greater public concern because it's not on private land. It's on the road, from my understanding.
Right, it's a right-of-way road.
Yeah.
It's not a traveled road like 52.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know of a good answer. You know, it's.
I-
I could talk to Jim and just see, that would be the first.
Okay.
I mean, I think we'd like to get this solved for the residents. It's not something they can,
I would be very surprised if the tenants wouldn't have an issue with it. Because if I'm a tenant somewhere, if we don't put garbage out at our house, we don't encourage our neighbors to put garbage out at their houses, because then that bear becomes our bear.
right,
You know, and
So we know, we are going to contact Jim and we will report back.
But since this is an apartment complex, correct?
yeah.
Is there permitting? Is there some sort of permit that's being violated?
not that I would be aware
Yeah,
of.
I'm just saying.
My understanding from this situation, from what I've read, is that there were safeguards in place that were later absolved, that there was a bigger plan that
Yeah, the site
then,
plan.
yeah, when they got their
Included the
certificate of
fence.
occupancy, so I think it might be smart to go back and look at that and readdress the fact that it's not compliant with what was approved. If indeed that's the case.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying,
I'll be with Jim on Thursday.
awesome. Thank you. And is it appropriate? I think we had a comment just based on this.
Just want to say that it was supposed to be a 24-car parking lot. And it's not. They don't even have enough for the 10 cars.
If not, a motion to adjourn.
I will move that.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed.